Reality and Truth. Verses in honor of Master Rennyo Shonen by Gansen John Welch Sensei. We are at war with lies, propaganda, indoctrination, and their evil companions, control, compliance, and coercion. If we do not resist with our only weapons truth and reality, then we will be killed or subject to totalitarian tyranny that will probably persist and last if the evidence and experience of the past is to be trusted and believed for a very long time, that will exceed either our lifespan or our prime. We must, with all our strength and intelligence, resist, or punishment, imprisonment, slavery, and murder will persist. We are surrounded by false friends and real enemies, where it is really difficult to discern truth amidst all the lies. Persistence, perseverance, courage, wisdom, and compassion are our greatest weapons, and we must ignore derision, deception, and all the lies and weapons that Mara tries to use against us to prevent us from realizing reality and truth, which is the only way that we can be free from the suffering in samsara. Truth and reality can only be found in Amida Dharma, as taught and explained by Shakyamuni Tathagata and all the masters of Amida Dharma. Amida Buddha's supreme 18th or primal vow is the foundation of this freedom from the suffering experienced in samsara, and is the only key which will unlock the prison gate and the cell of hell of incarceration created by our past thoughts, words, and deeds in samsara. The truth is that our ignorance, greed, hate, and all past and present blind passions have created the chains that imprison our minds and bodies. So, no self-power practices can liberate us in this dark age of Dharma decline. So taught all the Amida Dharma sages throughout all samsaric realms and ages. We cannot possibly repay this debt we owe to Amida and his primal vow and unsurpassed Dharma. Therefore, we should think and say, each and every day, with an attitude of humility and gratitude, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. The above verses were inspired by the following passages from Rennyo Shonen Ofumi Gobanshu, or the Letters of Master Rennyo Shonen. Fascicle 4. Item. Even if you feel that you understand the significance of the Buddha Dharma, having listened through sliding doors or over a hedge, faith will be decisively settled only by your repeatedly and carefully asking others about its meaning. If you leave things to your own way of thinking, there will invariably be mistakes. It has been said recently that there are such instances these days. Item. You should ask others time after time about what you have understood of faith until other power faith or anjin is decisively settled. If you listen but once, there will surely be mistakes. I have noticed recently that, although everyone listens to the Buddha Dharma, there is no one who has undergone a true and real settling of faith by just hearing the teaching in a general way. Consequently, their realization of the settled mind too is not as it should be. Respectfully, Bunmai 16, 1484, 11.21. From 7, on 6 items, pages 50 and 51. Item. There are some people who have not yet undergone any decisive settling of faith or anjin, and should for this reason raise their doubts. However, they keep these things to themselves and do not talk openly about them. When we press and question them, they just try to evade the point without saying frankly what is on their minds. This is inexcusable. They should speak unreservedly and thus ground themselves in true and real faith. Item. In recent years, priests who are pillars of the Buddha Dharma have been seriously lacking in faith, while followers of the tradition, companions, have, on the contrary, undergone a decisive settling of faith. When they then talk about the priest's lack of faith, the priests become very angry. This is absurd. From now on, both priests and disciples must abide in the same faith. Item. It must be understood that the decisive settling of faith in our tradition is expressed by the 6 characters Na-mu Amida Butsu. Shandao explained long ago in his commentary, Namo means to take refuge. It also signifies aspiring to be born and directing virtue. Amida Butsu is the practice. When sentient beings take refuge in Amida, saying Namu Amida Buddha, fully knowing those sentient beings bestows on them the virtue of a myriad of good deeds and practices, countless as the grains of sand in the Ganges river. This is what is meant by Amida Butsu, is the practice. Those who take refuge, Namu, are therefore one with the saving Dharma of Amida Buddha. We speak of the oneness in Namo Amida Butsu of the person to be saved, and the Dharma that saves. Indicating this point, we must bear in mind, therefore, that Namo Amida Butsu expresses the full realization of perfect enlightenment that was accomplished when Amida Buddha vowed long ago, when he was the Bhikshu Dharmakara, that unless sentient beings attained Buddhahood, he too would not attain perfect enlightenment. This is, in other words, is evidence that our birth in the Pure Land is settled. Hence, it should be concluded that our realization of other power faith is expressed in just these 6 characters. Respectfully, Bunmai 17, 1485, 11.23, from 8 on 8 items, pages 52 and 53. 9. On an epidemic. Recently, people have been dying in great numbers, reportedly from an epidemic. It is not that they die primarily because of the epidemic. It is because of determinate karma that has been settled from the first moment of our birth. We should not be so deeply surprised by this, and yet, when people die at this time, everyone thinks it is strange. It is really quite reasonable. Amida Tathagat has declared that he will unfailingly save those sentient beings who single-heartedly rely on him, ordinary beings in the last Dharma age, and people like ourselves, burdened with evil karma, however deep the evil may be. At such time as this, we should entrust ourselves to Amida Buddha all the more deeply, and, realizing that we will be born in the land of utmost bliss, relinquish every bit of doubt, steadfastly and single-heartedly acknowledging how gracious Amida is. Once we have understood this, our saying Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, sleeping or waking, is an expression of gratitude, conveying our joy and thankfulness that Amida really saves us in this way. This is, in other words, is the Nembutsu of gratitude for the Buddha's benevolence. Respectfully, Entaku 4, 1492, 6, page 53. 11. On the oneness of the person to be saved and the Dharma that saves. What is the meaning of Namu Amida Butsu? And further, how are we to entrust ourselves to Amida and attain birth in the fulfilled land? What we must understand first of all is that we entrust ourselves to Amida by carefully discerning what the 6 characters Namu Amida Butsu are all about. Namo Amida Butsu is essentially nothing other than the entrusting mind of we sentient beings who rely on Amida to save us, bringing us to Buddhahood in the afterlife. In other words, Amida Tathagata, fully knowing that the sentient beings who entrust themselves readily bestows virtue of unsurpassed great benefit. This is what is meant by saying that he directs virtue to sentient beings. Therefore, because those who entrust themselves to Amida are inseparable from Amida Buddha's saving Dharma, we speak of this as the oneness in Namo Amida Butsu of the person to be saved, and the Dharma that saves. It has this meaning. We must bear in mind that this is other power faith through which our birth in the Pure Land is settled. The writing of this letter was completed on the 25th day of the 5th month, Mayo 6, 1497, aged 83, page 54. 13. Reflections in early summer. Fall and spring have slipped away, and it is already the middle of early summer in this 7th year of Mayo. I have grown old. I am 84. This particular year, however, I have been seriously beset by illness, and as a result, my whole body has suffered, ears, eyes, hands, and feet. I realize then that this is in itself the outcome of past karma, and also the harbinger of birth in the land of utmost bliss. Master Honen said, pursuant to this, Practitioners who aspire for the Pure Land are filled with joy when they become ill. These are his very words, and yet it never occurs to me to rejoice over illness. I am a shameful person. This is disgraceful. It is deplorable. Nevertheless, according to our sect's teaching of completing the cause of birth in the Pure Land in ordinary life, with the awakening of the one-thought moment of entrusting, I am now settled in the single path of faith or anjin. My saying of the name in grateful return for the Buddha's benevolence is therefore unceasing. Walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, I am never forgetful. What follows are the reflections of this foolish old man. Generally speaking, in observing the attitude of followers of this sect in the various places where I have stayed, I have found no indication of faith being clearly and decisively settled. This is most lamentable, for if, in testimony to this old man having already lived some 80 years, there were a flourishing of practitioners for whom faith was decisively settled, this might be considered the mark of a long life. But I see no sign at all of faith being clearly settled. What are the grounds for this lament? Considering that the human realm is a place of uncertainty for young and old alike, we will surely undergo some sort of illness and die. Everyone must understand that, given the circumstances in a world like this, it is essential that faith be decisively and promptly, indeed as soon as possible, and that we be assured of the birth to come in the land of utmost bliss. It is also essential that we live out our lives after that in conformity with the ordinary circumstances of human life. We must think seriously about this, and deep within awaken the aspiration to entrust ourselves single-mindedly to Amida. Respectfully, Mayo 7, 1498, the first day of the middle period of early summer, written by an old priest, 84 years of age. If ever we are able to hear the name of Amida, let us all entrust ourselves. Namo Amida Butsu, pages 55 and 56. Fascicle 5. 1. On laymen and laywomen lacking wisdom in the last Dharma age. Laymen and laywomen lacking wisdom in the last Dharma age should realize that sentient beings who rely deeply and with singleness of mind on Amida Buddha and entrust themselves single-heartedly and steadfastly without ever turning their minds in any other direction to the Buddha to save them, are unfailingly saved by Amida Tathagata, even if their evil karma is deep and heavy. This is the essence of the 18th vow of birth in the Pure Land through the Nembutsu. Once faith has been decisively settled in this way, they should, sleeping or waking, repeat the Nembutsu, saying the name of the Buddha as long as they live. Respectfully, page 58. 2. On the 80,000 teachings. It has been said that those who do not know the importance of the afterlife are foolish, even though they may understand 80,000 sutras and teachings. Those who know about the afterlife are wise, even though they may be unlettered men and women who have renounced the world while remaining in lay life. The import of our tradition is, therefore, that those who do not realize the significance of the one-thought moment of faith, even though they may diligently read the various scriptures and be widely informed, all is in vain. This you should know. Therefore, as the Master Shinran has said, no man or woman will ever be saved without entrusting themselves to Amida's primal vow. Hence, there should be no doubt at all that those who abandon the sundry practices and, with the awakening of the one-thought moment, deeply entrust themselves to Amida Tathagata to save them in regard to the afterlife, will all be born in Amida's Pure Land, whether 10 people or 100, whatever sort of men or women they may be. Respectfully, page 58. Namo Amida Butsu,